Hey, hey, hey. Hello, one and all. Hope everyone is having an amazing day today. We are live streaming on YouTube, which is relatively new for me. I've done this my second time, so I'm feeling good about it. But we are also in the Zoom room as well. So we are coming live to talk about a topic that a lot of people um, have expressed some concern about. It is one of those things that I do get questions about pretty frequently, which is how do I get more clients in my private practice? So I'm going to give you some suggestions today. I'm going to talk about some habits that you can incorporate that will allow you to fill your practice with ideal clients, right? Not just any old client, but clients that will be your dream client, your perfect 10 client. We're going to talk about filling your practice with dream clients in an hour or less per week. Now, I'm going to give you this full disclaimer. If you happen to be catching this video and you've never seen my face before, my name is Cavalyn Day. I am a coach for therapists in private practice. I call myself the private practice bestie because I want to help you build a life first private practice that is thriving, that is filled with perfect 10 clients, that is providing you with the income that you want to have, that is providing you with the quality of life that you want to have. And I want to do that, all of that without overwhelm. Okay. And so for a lot of people, this idea of how to get more clients in the door feels incredibly overwhelming. It feels like something that is um, almost like a magic. But we're going to talk about what it actually is and how you can do it in as little time as possible. Now, full disclaimer, like I mentioned, I love to do more than an hour, right? But I'm going to give you the simplest process right now so that you can go ahead and get started today. The first thing I want you to understand is that it is no longer 2020. It is 2025. We're getting ready to be in 2026. And as I am recording this, the market has shifted and it is harder than ever to fill your practice with perfect 10 clients. Not impossible, but it is much harder. And I'm saying this as someone who has been running a practice for almost 10 years. And has was participating even before that. I was kind of assisting my sister when she was running her practice, so I know what it's like to build a practice from the ground up. And very much so, things have changed. In 2020, we could not answer the phone fast enough. People were knocking down our door in person and virtually trying to get in. And in 2025, the market has shifted because people have more access, right? So, because we have telehealth, because people are dual licensed in multiple states, you might put in a particular zip code and you're going to see 1,000 therapists. There might not be 1,000 therapists in your zip code, but if they've chosen to target your zip code or they've included your zip code in their SEO or in their marketing some way, those people are going to see. So you might be like, look, I'm looking around my community and I only see, two or three other counselors, or I only see a couple other practices, or maybe I don't see any other practices. But because the way marketing works, there may be more people shown when they're looking online. Okay. And so that's a real big part of why it feels harder to kind of stand out in the crowd. But the other piece of the puzzle is buyer psychology has changed. When copays were waived and deductibles were waived and people could get into a counseling session for you know uh, $5 out of pocket or nothing out of pocket, they were more likely to show up. Now that everything is more expensive, incomes are stagnant, what you're seeing is that more and more people are kind of questioning whether or not they want to spend the money on some things, and they're being a little bit more selective about who they're choosing and how many sessions they're going to have and those kind of things. And you're going to see that as a challenge for your practice. What we're going to talk about today is going to help you deal with that. It's not going to eliminate these things, but it's going to allow you to stand out to the people who are willing to pay, the people who are looking, and kind of helping you to build your practice that way. So the first thing that I want you to recognize is that What we're talking about is marketing. And for the sake of this video, I'm not going to go into some deep, dramatic description of marketing. It's just simply putting the product or service that you have in front of the people who want to buy it, in front of the people who need it. Putting the product, what your product or service is as a solution in front of the people that have that problem. That's what marketing is. It's really just that simple. I watched a video today and somebody was talking about, I got the degree. I'm excited about it, but I think I figured out the worst part about being a therapist. And it's the thing that nobody said anything about in all the years of graduate school is that I'm supposed to be in private practice and I need to have 25 clients in order for me to be full to have a reasonable salary. And nobody has told me how to do it. So it's a common complaint, but it's just a very simple answer. How can you position yourself in front of the people who need your help? That's basically what marketing is, right? And there's a lot of ways to make it more complicated, but it just gets as simple as that. And I want to encourage you to really wrap your mind around the fact that this is a part of your business. This isn't something extra. This isn't a nice to have. In 2025 and beyond, this is an essential part of your business. If you're not spending time on at least doing something to generate inquiries and incoming clients for your office, even if you are not doing a lot, but you've got to be doing something. Otherwise, you will start to get swallowed up by the people that are. Case in point, if you Google your zip code that your practice is located in, whether you're virtual or in person, if you Google that plus therapy or counseling, I guarantee you what's going to come up is 2 to 3 sponsored posts of people who do not have a local office in your community. You're going to see some of the big box tech companies. You're going to see some of the EAP companies. You're going to see those type of things come up because they are flooding the market with ads. So if you're not doing something to at least be on that first page, you're going to have a hard time. But it's not as complicated as you might think. A lot of people think, man, it's all I can do to make sure that the bills are getting paid and that I'm keeping up on the insurance and that I'm, keeping up on the HR and all these different things. It doesn't have to be complicated, okay? So I'm going to give you 5 things that I want you to make sure you do every single week, and I promise you, over a period of time, it's not going to be instantaneous, but over a period of time, you're going to see growth in your business. Now, the reason why I say I like to spend a little bit more than an hour is because if you can do maybe 2 hours, a lot of times what ends up happening, you'll get to do more. So it'll be a faster growth. Okay. You also can find it's like over time, if you batch these things, or you can train another staff member or hire your teenager, some of these things can be done by other people other than you. So it might even be less than an hour. Okay, so let's get started with some of these things that I want you to make sure that you are consistently doing every single week. And if you're not sure whether or not you're doing these, take some notes, right? If you have some questions about how to do these, I am going to be checking the comments both on YouTube and in our Zoom room, and I will be responding to those. Now, for the record, on YouTube it is delayed, so if it comes across a little bit slower, I will respond to it. It just might come across a little bit delayed. Okay, so first and foremost, I want you to get into the habit of sending out the ships, what I call sending out the ships. That is something that you need to do every single week. So I want you to raise your hand if you can say, yes, I have sent 3 ships out this week for sure, but maybe even 3 ships every day to make sure that somebody knows that my business exists. How simple is that, right? 3 ships a day is best, but at least 3 ships every week to let somebody new know that your business exists. Here's why this is important. You think because you show up to work every day that everybody knows, that everybody knows you exist. Everyone does not know you exist. Lots of people do not know you exist. you don't need everyone to know, right? You only probably need 25, maybe 50, or if you're a group practice, maybe 100 people in your area to know that you exist. But chances are there's millions of people and they do not all know that you exist. This is one of the reasons why I encourage people when you're putting out videos and you're like, I only got 200 views, I only got 50 views, I only got 100 views. Do you have another way to get 100 people to see you today? If not, then let's be happy with those 100 views. Now, three people, I wouldn't make all of your ships social media, although social media can definitely be a part of it. But I would encourage you to have different ways that you're showing up to do that. Video is a great way to do it. Some static posts can be helpful as well. But there's a lot of other things that you can do to kind of show up in different spaces, gets your name in front of different people. I have something called my 5 minute marketing system, and I'll make sure that I include this link around this video. But the 5 minute marketing system gives you over 40 things that you can do as a ship. Right? It's a ship that you can send out. There's 40 different things. And it also gives you 50 different places that you might not have considered as well. So the idea here is you're not necessarily showing up to do a hard pitch to people. You're just introducing yourself. You're starting the conversation. You're introducing who you are. And for a lot of people, this acts as your business card, right? So we don't necessarily have to go out and get, business cards and flyers and brochures printed up. A lot of times what you can do is if you've got a great video, if you've got some great posts, if you've got an active social media presence, if you're active on LinkedIn, those things really do act like the business card for your business. So you want to get into the habit of making sure that you are sharing something at least 3 times per week, right? And these can be scheduled. It's not that you have to you don't have to go in every single day and do it, but you can schedule them periodically, but 3 times a day is best, okay? Now, here's the great thing about this. I want you to get into the habit of also kind of auditing these and seeing what's working. And when you find something that's working, this is important. If you find something that's working, I want you to double down on it. And if it's not working, I want you to switch it up. Sometimes the message that you have to say, which, let's say something as simple as, mindfulness helps with anxiety, right? That's a simple statement, something really, really, practical and simple, right? Sometimes you can say that same thing in a different way and have it hit differently. So don't think of this as every single post has to get me 1 million followers. I want you to think of this as, hey, I just want to make sure that I'm continuing to teach the algorithm what to expect from me. And I'm sending out these ships, and whatever happens, happens, right? That is one of the things I want you to get into the habit of doing. A lot of us, even when we have an opportunity to kind of pitch our business, we don't know how to do it because we haven't built up that muscle memory of saying, my name is Kathleen and I'm a coach for therapists, or my name is Jody and I help anxious moms. Like, you want to get into the habit of doing that. Which brings us to number two, which is to master your messaging. Your messaging is how you say the thing. And when I said, with that first kind of sending out your ships, sometimes you want to say things in a different way. Getting really, really good at messaging is probably the most important thing you can do in terms of marketing. And when I say messaging, I mean that this is how you're packaging what it is you want to say so that people can receive it and take action on it. A lot of people struggle with on the fly coming up with what to say, right? And so if you don't have that messaging down, a lot of times it takes people more attempts to kind of get the feel of what you're trying to say. If you get better at messaging, you'll have to say things less frequently. Let me give you an example. So let's say that you have a really great video. People love it. They're engaged. They are commenting. They're sharing it. That will go farther than if you have a video that kind of falls flat, or you're having even if you're paying ads for it, right? So the idea is you want to get really good at your messaging. You're amazing in the session. You are always saying things to your clients that is making them go, oh my God, I never thought of it that way. Or, oh man, wow, I never saw it that way, right? You are great at that. But then when you turn on the camera, when you sit down to create a post, or you sit down to write a blog, it's like, oh my God, it takes me so long. It just feels so not organic. Here's my little tip. Giving you guys a tip already. My little tip is use voice notes. Use text to speak, right? Pull up your, if you have an iPhone, I have like the Notes app on there. Pull up the little Notes app, click the little microphone, and talk the way that you would talk to create an awareness or insight in your client. And then you can take that, you can put it into your preferred AI tool, right? Or you can sit down and edit it like you would like old high school paper, but get it closer to the way that you would actually speak, and that will help your messaging get better. Sometimes people also need to work with like scripts and hooks and things like that that make videos and posts pop on social media. I include some of that in 5 minute messaging as well. So if you haven't got that, that's definitely something, it's well worth the $27. Okay. The third habit you want to do, and this is something you want to do every week. So in terms of mastering your message, you just want to spend at least 5 to 10 minutes every single week getting better at your messaging. So going back to those old posts and, seeing what is working, what's not working, tweaking things, those kind of things. Habit number three is reviewing all of your numbers. Guys, if you don't remember anything else that I say today, pay attention to your numbers. Let me tell you the story about how I recognized a small dip in our practice before it was the tsunami that could be, and what I did. So I look at our numbers every month. We have an incoming call log of, excuse me, any calls that come in to our practice, or emails, or like website requests, any of those things that come into our practice. We have that comes in every single, it goes all into like a spreadsheet. So I'm looking at the numbers. I'm looking to see how quickly we're able to get people that call in booked with somebody. I'm looking at the numbers to see how many times we had to play phone tag with somebody. I'm looking at how many people are coming, calling us versus how many people are actually scheduling. If they're not scheduling, I'm looking at why. All of these numbers matter in terms of the health of your business, but they also tell you when it's time to ramp up, right? So I noticed that month over month, we had a dip, right? We had a dip in our incoming inquiries. And that happens from time to time. It can be just like, hey, it's just this is kind of the season that we're in. And sometimes you kind of hit a little bit of a slump. But I also wanted to say, like, hey, I don't want to just let the slump. I want to see what I can do about it. And so part of what I looked at is what things can I tweak to see if I can have a little bit more influence over what's coming into our practice. So I implemented just a couple of things. I doubled down. I did some extra videos. I was very intentional about including a call to action. That's a really important tip. Anytime you have any type of a post that's going out, you want to have a call to action to bring them back in. So I included some very specific calls to action, and all of our numbers went up. Social media engagement went up. Inbound inquiries went up, and everybody's favorite, income went up, right? Knowing your numbers is so important because it's going to tell you whether or not what you're doing is working. A lot of times people will do things where they're like, well, I've been posting, but nothing's happening. Okay, well, is it really nothing, or is it something that, like if you think about like building a fire, right? I'm not an outdoor girl, but I do know that when you are, building a campfire, you got to kind of stoke the fire, right? You got to put the kindling down, and you've got to start it up, and you might have to put some air into it and kind of get things going. So sometimes we just kind of throw the sticks on top of put the logs out there, and we put the match on there, and we assume it's going to become a rolling, fire, but it's not. Because a lot of times what we need to do is make sure that we've actually kind of stoked it a little bit. And so if you haven't been paying attention to your numbers, you might not know that there needed to be some stoking. I'm gonna tell you one thing that will kill your engagement on social media. If you have people commenting and you don't respond, that will kill your engagement, because what the algorithms will basically say is this is some type of a bot. They don't care about people. They don't keep the conversation going. And so they'll stop showing your stuff. So that is one of those things that you want to definitely make sure that you're doing. Keep track of your numbers so that you can tweak as necessary and make those adjustments. Okay. Now, one of the things that we did during that month where we ramped up all of our engagement and our income and all of those different things was point number 4, which is make sure that you are following up with warm leads. Okay. If you haven't heard this word before, a warm lead is someone who has acknowledged your presence and has shown some type of an interest. Okay. So if you have, let's say you're on social media and you're using a trigger word, or you have a link in your bio and people can click that link to download something. That makes them a lead. Okay. They're not a lead until they've actually shown, I care about what you have to say in some type of way, whether they comment or share or like some type of engagement, right? Where they kind of give you their email address or they call into the office. Those things make them leads. One thing that can happen is a person will call a counseling practice. They're in a crisis. They want to be seen immediately. They might even call 5 or 6 counseling practices, everybody that they see online. And once they call those people, they send all those emails, they send all those voicemails, and they get a little bit of a relief. This is a little bit of buyer psychology for you. They get a little bit of relief, okay? And because it got a little bit of relief, they might go down the hallway and talk to somebody at work, or they might call up a family friend or somebody at church, and they kind of get a little bit more relief there. And so if you don't ever call back, they don't won't call you back. That's something that happens a lot. So you want to follow up with everyone who was a warm lead to make sure that they really are a person who could be a part of your practice, right? One of the things that we did during this month where we were, intentionally working on these efforts is we made sure that we went back and touched base with everyone who had been a warm lead. Here's what we found. Some people, we had sent an email response to their email and they did not um, give, they didn't see that email or went to their promotion folder, right? So we had a lot of people where they're like, oh, nobody ever called me back. But we had sent an email. We had some people where like their voicemail was full. So they're like, oh, nobody called me. Well, we did, but your voicemail was full. So a lot of those people do want the services, but they need a little bit more of a handhold. So if you haven't done that, that is one of those things that you definitely want to do. You want to follow up with all of those leads. Here's an important thing to note. A warm lead is a valuable lead, and you do not want to waste it if you can avoid it. Okay. Every person who is a potential client has a lifetime value to your practice, right? And a lot of these leads that you have organically gotten, that if they don't convert, it's literally probably $1,000 walking out the door, right? So if you think about, I had 10 people that called me this month and they never responded to their email. If you think about that, that might be $10,000 for your practice that you're missing. Seems like to me that would be worth the follow-up call, right? So get into a habit of scheduling that. And when we're talking about all these things, guys, each one of these things is only just a few minutes, right? 2, 3 minutes here, 2, 3 minutes there, 2, 3 minutes here. So schedule blocks of time, maybe 15-minute blocks at the start of the day and the end of the day to get these things done, or block off 1 hour a week and get these things done. And you might not be able to do, hours and hours, but 10 minutes once a week does make a difference. A lot of people think they need huge chunks of time. I'm telling you, 5 or 10 minutes really can make an impact. Okay. And then the last one is I want you to connect with strangers. Now, this one is a little tip that most people don't know. People who are in other people's audiences, right? Either because they're, that are related to mental health. So maybe they're following somebody who's into mental health, or somebody shared a meme, or somebody shared um, some type of a GIF or GIF or however you say it, and they started to comment. You want to start to engage with some of those people. Now, not in a creepy stalker way. right? But you want to start to engage in them by, like, oh my God, that's so true, or I love helping clients with this, those kind of things. Now, everybody who you engage with is not going to respond, and most of them won't become your clients. But every time you attach these type of helpful and meaningful comments to your profiles and your name, you are building out the web. I want you to think about it as like, I've got a web on Instagram, and I've got a web on Facebook, and I've got a web on LinkedIn, and I've got this web, I've got all these tentacles. Eventually, these things will come back to benefit you. Just recently, I had a potential corporate client reach out to me, and I was like, "How did you find me?" Because I didn't used to ask that question, but I do now. Because if they found me on this particular profile, I'm gonna double down, right? And so when they reached out to me, I said, how did you find me? And she said, well, I had heard that somebody went to one of your trainings and they really, really enjoyed it. So they gave me your name. I looked you up on LinkedIn. And then I just kind of went down the rabbit hole and I just saw so many different things that you had shared, and your message and your voice and your style just seemed like I think our people would really resonate with that. I don't make videos every single day. To be honest, I typically make videos once or twice a week, if that. I just hired a new editor, so I will be probably making some more videos. But um, I usually batch my videos, and then I take my long form videos and break them up into shorter videos so that they can kind of go out that direction. I schedule things online, but because I have been doing that, when you Google my name, sis got pages. Now, you want to do the same thing. You are trying to figure out how to get your website to rank. You are trying to figure out how to make sure that people can find you. These are all things that are really challenging when you just start a practice. Our practice has been around for 14 years. We've been on the first page, and it will be unlikely that somebody will bump us from the first page because I am consistently putting out new content and linking it back to our website. So whether we're on Pinterest, on Facebook, on Instagram, what have you, we got all these different ways for our website to keep showing up. If you even ask ChatGPT where you should go in our area, particularly if you're African American, our name will come up. So it feels like, oh my God, there's so much to do, but it's not so much to do. It's just a few strategic pieces. And one of those things is making sure that your name and your business has kind of a skeleton, right? Where people can see that and people can find it and people can search it. If people search for you and they don't see anything, that's that other piece of the buyer psychology, right? Because some people have been burned, right? And because some people have not had good experiences, they sometimes want to go down a rabbit hole about you. They want to see, have you been around for a while? They want to see what you're posting and how you respond to things. It wasn't that long ago that my daughter was looking for a new therapist. She was going off to college, and so she was looking for a new therapist. And as she's looking, she's like, Mom, I don't think I'm gonna like anybody that they have. And I was like, come on. You haven't even met the people yet. She's like, no, but like I looked at some of their stuff online and it looks very dry, Mom. And I'm like, okay, let's give them a chance, right? Either you want to keep your same therapist and you can see them virtually, or you got to give this other person a chance on campus because you don't have a car. So how else are you gonna get around? But that's what people are doing now. They're going down the rabbit hole. And so if you have comments in different places that show like, oh, this is how she responds. Oh, this is her personality. Oh, this is who she likes. Oh, she seems like she might be fun. That's what people are looking for. So I want you to find some ways to kind of connect with strangers. Now, the key here is the piece that I said at the beginning, which is you got to know who your perfect 10 customer is, because the perfect 10 customer that you have, the person who you want to connect with the most, wants to see and hear certain things. And my perfect 10 customer and your perfect 10 customer are not the same. They don't want to see, they don't want to hear the same things. So you have to make sure that you are speaking directly to them. So around this video will be a link to get my free Perfect 10 customer worksheet. I'd love for you to download that and make sure you know who your Perfect 10 customer is. And so once you've done that and you know who your Perfect 10 customer is, it's easier for you to go to my 5 minute marketing system and say like, oh yeah, I am absolutely know exactly what this person wants to hear today because I know this. Now, if you're saying like, hey, I'm just getting started, or I'm really getting burnt out on the type of people that I've been working with. I'm not sure who my perfect 10 customer is. I feel like I need to kind of tweak this. Or you say, I really want to work more in some corporate spaces. I don't know that I need any more one-on-one clients, but I really want to expand beyond this one-on-one. And I want to know about attracting more corporate places. The same system applies, but your messaging has to be elevated. Okay. That's an opportunity for us to work together in a strategy session. I would love to invite you. There'll be a link around this video for you to get that as well if you're watching the recording. But I'd love to invite you to check out one of my strategy sessions. I only open a handful of these every single month, and we work together for either 45 or 90 minutes. You have your option of whether you want a mini one or a full one, and we'll work together to outline a plan for you to have attracting, plan for you to be attracting those people that you really, really want to work with consistently. Okay. So if that is something that you want to work on, make sure you check out those strategy sessions. They typically open like the last week of the month before, and they just go until they're full. And when they're full, I open them up the next month for the same option. So hopefully, this has simplified the concept of marketing for your private practice. If you can do 5 minutes a day, right? Or even, 15 minutes one day and 15 minutes another day and 10 minutes one day, break it up if you have to. Get to at least 60 minutes a week, right? You'll be able to see massive results in your business, filling your practice with perfect 10 clients, helping people, having the impact and the income that you want, all without overwhelm. If you have questions after you watch this video, please make sure that you drop them in the comments because like I said, I come through and answer questions and comments. So if you have questions, make sure that you drop them. You'll also see in the description around this video my direct contact information. Would love to hear from you. So make sure that you are doing the 5 minute task that will fill your practice so that you can have a life first business that you love.